Welcome to the Mexpreneurs Podcast, the podcast about the stories of Mexican tech startup founders who are building world-class, fast-growing companies and having a positive impact at a large scale. My name is Sergio Chavez. I'm a Mexican based in Germany, a tech startup founder, executive, and mentor, and your host. Today we have Humberto Martínez, Rodrigo Martínez, and Tom Leenders with us. They are the founders of Nerit'e, an agricultural technology startup from Aachen, Germany, which was founded in 2022 and has raised 800,000 euros in private and public investment. Humberto is CEO, Rodrigo is Chief Operations Officer, and Tom is Chief Technology Officer. Humberto and Rodrigo are brothers, originally from Queretaro, Mexico, who moved to Aachen in 2022 to build Nerit'e. Tom is from Germany, is a mechanical engineer, and he joined Nerit'e after working at BMW and at his own startup. I hope you enjoy. Support for this episode comes from Partnership Leaders, the leading community of partnership professionals and executives in SaaS and tech with over 1,500 members globally. If you're a tech startup founder, you know that partnerships are essential for the success of your business. PL is the place to connect with decision makers in strategic, tech, and channel partnerships at leading SaaS and tech companies globally like HubSpot, Salesforce, Google, AWS, as well as with new emerging players and with top thought leaders and service providers. PL is also a thought leader, creating incredible content on how you can leverage partnerships to take your tech startup to the next level. I'm a member of PL and co-host of the Germany chapter and have seen firsthand the richness and the value of PL. Visit partnershipleaders.com to learn more. Hi, Humberto, Rodrigo, Tom, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hi. Thanks for having us, Edgar.
And guys, please tell us, what is Nerit'e?
The best way to answer it is that it started out as a science project between my brother and I. We saw what was happening around us when we were still living in Mexico before moving here. And we thought that something needed to be done on the area of agriculture. We saw it was struggling and we decided to do something about it. And this is why Nerit'e was conceptualized as a way to help farmers. At first, we thought of a way to measure nutrients instantly with light. And then we transitioned, and as we transitioned into other better ideas, we consolidated all those ideas into a startup. And this startup is what you can now call Nerit'e as it is. And before, it was just an idea as to how to help farmers in our region.
And what's your guys' vision? Like you're talking about helping farmers. What's the grand vision behind Nerit'e?
The best way to represent this into an idea is to imagine the world as something we can diagnose through specifically from soils. So our vision statement is to diagnose these soils and to provide the data and the insights to keep them healthy. And this means all sorts of data, as in the nutrients that it has, what's going on in terms of moisture, how much water content there is, taking that and making it into insights that someone could act upon, just like in health, in the health industry, diagnosis first and then action. This is what we want to do.
So it's about providing people with the data for them to run their farms, their crops in a much more efficient way. And you guys see these being basically a product that can scale at a global basis? Do you see that this will become a product that each and every farmer worldwide is going to have as part of their toolkit?
Definitely so. We believe that strongly.
Yeah, I think Tom has had some very interesting conversations in the last few months that very strongly indicate in that direction.
And is that limited to a specific type of soil? Is that a specific type of farm? Or you guys see these really as being applicable to anyone in the agricultural business?
Absolutely. So the way I see it, at least, is if you look at IPCC numbers, it turns out that emissions of greenhouse gases from agriculture are divided up into sections. The largest section is fertilizer and waste application to soils. And every single major farming system contributes very strongly, according to the IPCC, those are the words they use, to that particular source of emissions, which means what have you, sheep, cattle, horticulture, and broadacre agriculture can all benefit from better nutrient management and better nutrient data.
So it really has a global potential at the end. And how big is the company today? So I have the pleasure of talking to the three of you today. How big is Nerit'e as of today?
We are right now 9 team members, about to become 10 soon. Three, as you know, three founders. This is us. We also include our employees. We want them to be as engaged as possible, and this is also why we've tried to get them into VSOPs, and this is something we try to incentivize them with. But as of today, I think 9 is our number. The question, if you ask us today, I would say 9, and I think this is a constantly growing number because of what we do and because of the growth that we've seen recently.
And the team is based in Germany mostly, or you have team members scattered across the globe?
They're all in Aachen. We like to work in person.
And the reason for that is because also you have a physical product. No? So it's just not software, something that you guys can do on a fully remote basis. So you also need to be physically together as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say that is super important. A hardware startup is tough to do remotely, although we actually also work with remote technology, but we can maybe dive into that later on.
That's awesome. And guys, if I may ask, what is every one of you doing inside the company? So I understand that each of you has complementary background, complementary profiles. So what's the distribution of roles and responsibilities of you guys as founders of the company?
I'm currently filling out the CTO role. My background is I'm an engineer from Germany, studied bachelor and master's in mechanical engineering and production engineering. So I was taught to build products at scale, and I'm taking this knowledge plus some work experience at BMW and applying it to the agricultural and technology world.
So technology and inside the CTO role falls product development, the hardware piece, the software piece, all together.
Absolutely. So we have several team members, also some recently joined the team who have complementary roles in that sense, but I'm overseeing all the technical development and also the German client bases where it helps to speak natively German.
So you're even doing some sales and partnership conversations, so to say.
Absolutely.
And Humberto, Rodrigo?
Yeah, for sure. So my role in the company is COO currently. And this means organizing the team and having enough conversations with everyone to really know what's happening and what everyone needs. Coordinating this is my main responsibility, as well as some administrational tasks such as financial projections and everything regarding financials and tax, for example. And I'm also involved sometimes with product and brand, and this is mostly my role. As you know, as founders, you can't really escape being in everything a bit at once. But I would say this is my role mostly as COO.
Rodrigo is the guy who writes our checks, so we all have to stay on his good side.
That's a very important role to have, Rodrigo.
Yeah, totally.
As for myself, I'm CEO, and I mostly handle our external stakeholder relationships. Sounds fancy, but it basically just means talking to our investors and our advisory board as often as possible, getting our investment strategy in place, getting documents that investors and other stakeholders might be willing to see, and overseeing most of our commercial relationships that don't require native German speaker, though I hope I will get there soon enough.
Got it. So let's say when it comes to building the product, shipping the product, so most of it relies on you, Tom and Rodrigo. When it comes to doing the selling, the marketing, the fundraising, that primarily falls under your plate, Humberto and Tom, on the German side.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you guys are in Germany, how is that, from your perspective, an advantage based on what you guys are building? Is that also influencing the dynamics between the three of you guys in the team?
Yes, absolutely. I think the way it mostly influences what we do is it shapes the world around us, doesn't it? Because it's not just us being in Germany, we're in Aachen specifically, which comes with its own set of different traits. I think Tom can elaborate a little bit on this because it's a very fascinating subject for us right now.
Yeah, I think the question has two sides to it. So what is it to found in Germany, especially with an international team? So Germany has been great to us in the sense that we got funding from the German government. We were supported with grants from the European Space Agency. So there has been not only help, but also money in this, right? So obviously we pay taxes here, so we do our fair share in all of this. The other side is how does this contribute to our team relations? I think within the team we have like 5 or 6 different languages by now. We have people from Egypt. We have people from Brazil in the team. So it doesn't matter who we talk to, we find one native person who can be in the call. And I think this is an advantage that not every team has. So it creates a dynamic which is quite interesting and quite beneficial, I would say.
And these team members that you have came to Germany because of Nerit'e, or they were already here in Germany studying, working in some shape or form, and later joined Nerit'e?
Yes, so we acquire a lot of our newer employees from the university. It is a technical university and it's quite renowned. So we are really happy with whom we are actually selecting and who is willing to deep dive into a startup world rather than going straight to the big corporate around the corner.
So being in Aachen gives you guys an advantage in terms of talent, having a strong talent pipeline, being able to recruit great talent for building the company.
Absolutely.
And how do you guys think the mix that you have between the three of you increases the chances of success of the company? Of course, I think this is an incredibly interesting topic, an incredibly challenging topic as well, due to, as what you're mentioning, Tom, it's a combination of hardware, software. And how do you guys see the mix that you have as a founding team being a unique combination to make you guys, to increase the chances of success of Nerit'e?
The way I see it as three things. Number one, a variety of backgrounds. So we have very few blind spots because we come from different contexts, which means we have had different life experiences. And that opens doors to opportunities that we might see, as well as risks. And I think this diversity really gives us an edge there. Number two is network. The more you are out there in the business world, you realize they say it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And I think that's true to a certain extent. It's obviously still very important what you know, but who you know, that certainly helps. And if you know people all over the world, then you have opportunities all over the world. And then number three is the variety of knowledge. So, like I said, it is important what you know. And I think given the fact that we grew up in two different countries as a founding team, gives us an edge in what kind of skills we were able to pick up along the way, because we had doors open in different places. For instance, Tom talked a little bit about his experience in BMW, which is an opportunity that would certainly be very different. Back in Mexico, engineering down there happens mostly in the software side. So having that extra experience in hardware, I think just geographically makes a huge difference in what we can actually accomplish together.
And I remember, Humberto, from the past, you were also mentioning about the fact that you and Rodrigo coming from Mexico also gives you guys an edge in terms of being able to work directly with the farmers, do a lot of the piloting and current testing that you guys are doing also directly on the field. So literally on the field.
Yes, exactly. So one of the examples of how we work with from the start, let me tell you, like, for example, I finished my bachelor's around a year and a half ago. And while I was trying to develop Nerit'e as a science project back then, I was also doing my bachelor's. And part of it is because I managed to get my university to agree to have this project also in my studies. So I incorporated it. And one of the things that I was required to do, and obviously one of the things we had to do anyway, was to talk to farmers and know exactly what was happening with them. So one of the first things we did when we had a prototype, and I call it a prototype, but it was basically a mess of cables and a lot of just loose things in a box. We took this to the field, actually, to one of the people we know from personally from our family friends, and he loved it. He loved the idea, and he even gave us like feedback as to how we can improve. And this has to be done constantly in order to have a successful product and something that can bring impact, like real impact to the market, to the industry.
Wow, that's incredible. And guys, what's been your journey together till now? You met, if I understand correctly, in Germany. The first time that you saw each other in person was actually here in Germany, if I'm not mistaken. So what's been the journey since then?
We initially met in a Zoom call during COVID, where we basically got introduced by a mentor. He was mentoring. I had a small startup before, and he was mentoring me, and he also mentored Humberto and Rodrigo. And he said, "Guys, your interests align. Why don't you combine forces?" And we did that. Had a first call, and we basically agreed that makes absolute sense, and we kicked it off right away. And from there on, it had been startup pitch competitions. It has been accelerators in all over Europe. The guys even flew to the States for plug and play. I unfortunately didn't because I had to go to Poland. So you see, we have been through quite a lot of like traveling, meeting people, developing on the site, and switching offices in between, using university resources, finding new people. Has been a lot of going on. And if you reflect at some point, you see this is crazy in only like shy above 2 years. And now we are actually a real company as well since the end of last year, officially in Germany, doing pilots around the world. And that's fantastic.
I, for one, can say that that Zoom call absolutely changed my life, and I had no idea it was going to change it that drastically. I'm not sure if you remember, Tom. We talked for like a half hour. We hit it off immediately, and we were basically like, "Hey, Tom, we're doing this in Mexico right now. We would like to take it to Germany, and we would love somebody to help us do that. Like, are you willing to come on board?" And I said, you don't have to say anything right now. You can think about it. And I remember. Did you remember that, Tom? You said, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of taking time to think about it in this kind of thing. So I'll just say yes right now, and we'll figure out the rest of the stuff later. And what do you know? 2 years later, here we are.
Wow, that's determination, Tom. And guys, so when you had that Zoom call, so Humberto, Rodrigo, you guys were in Mexico, you were in Germany.
Yeah, so that was COVID, right? So not just in Mexico, but locked up in the house, only going out to the field every now and then, because that's the only place where COVID couldn't hit, apparently, or at least not as hard as in the city. So there was no leaving Mexico at that point, and actually just getting the team, like a whole team in the same room, was a process that took us, what was it, Tom?
Months, I think.
Yes, 8 months, maybe 7.
Until all of you guys met for the first time physically in Germany or in Mexico?
In Germany.
Yeah. Right, that was in the pitching competition in Berlin.
So the competition was ultimately what brought all of you together?
For the first time in person, yeah, that's exactly how it went.
Wow. And first time you met directly in a startup competition to do a pitch together, first time on stage, I would assume, as a team. So everything happened super quick.
Yeah, absolutely. We made it to the semifinals.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. And Tom, you were mentioning, I didn't know that you have a startup before. And what happened with that startup? Are you still running that startup? Did you close that startup to fully dedicate to Nerit'e?
Yes, I closed that startup. It was a smart plant pot startup. So I was already not in the agriculture world, but in the soil and nutrients and so on. It was still really, really young. We were only 2 to 3 people. And yeah, I said, look, guys, it's either one or nothing. So then I closed mine and we joined forces completely, all with 100%.
And some of those team members that you had or your co-founders in the other startup also joined Nerit'e, or you were the only one joining?
Just me. The other ones pursued their careers, which is also fine. They turned out to be great people in great businesses. So no worries.
But you were already working on a related topic. So it was not an entirely new field for you when you joined full-time Nerit'e.
Not really, although agriculture was a steep learning curve in the last 2 years. And we are still learning. So I don't think we can allow ourselves some slack here. It's just grinding.
It's been an incredible journey in these last 2 years from what I'm hearing. But what's next? What do you guys have in your plates for the next, let's say, 12 months? What are your big milestones? What are the big plans for Nerit'e in the next year?
Sure thing. I think if we're looking at closing in on next year would be 1 year from now. By 1 year, I mean, maybe my teammates, like other co-founders, have other ideas they want to explore. But I think mainly if I had to say one, by next year, my idea of where we should be is expanding the pilots that we have right now. And that means having 2 pilots right now that we have, expanding those and getting them into a stage where we can have zero doubts, or to have our partners that are having these pilots, zero doubts that what we do works. And to achieve that, I think we need to refine a little bit more the way we work with them, and we have to expand on what we do right now. I think this is, for me, the main thing we have to be focusing on.
It's actually worth mentioning, Tom just got back from Ireland last week. So Friday, right, Tom?
Yes.
We've been doing a few installations. We recently had one of our first deployments where we really know that things are going well. And everything that we're aspiring for is that the partners that have welcomed us on board for now, at least for a quick pilot, will be satisfied with the work that we're doing. We're really burning the midnight oil on this, providing as much support as we can in the pilots which have kicked off. And the way we see it is the value in what we are doing is plain to see. This is not our words. This is our partners, what they've told us. And the only thing they need is to be fully convinced of the technology, as Rodrigo said, which basically means, in agriculture, you believe what you can see. And that's what we're doing right now. So we are showing them just how good this thing is so that we can expand it not only in 1 or 2 pilots, but internationally in a full supply chain for food processors, large farmer cooperatives, and even food and retail brands. So we're very excited. In a year from now, we should be discussing the possibility of deploying it at least a few thousand farms on a commercial rollout.
So you're talking about really scaling. So next year is going to be the year of scaling. So moving from 2 pilot projects to 1,000 projects or running in parallel.
That's the way I see it. Absolutely.
And these 2 pilots that you guys currently have running, so these are partners that are helping you in the development of the product, or these are already paying customers or about to become paying customers for you guys?
All of the above. So we're getting feedback on the product, right? But we have realized that the need and the interest for this technology out there is real. So the pilots that we do are paid. And the reason for that is we know that the value that we're adding will expand way beyond the pilot, even after it's over. And our partners see it the same way as well. So even though these are still small deployments, we're starting off on the right foot with them by having a more formal relationship where we know the expansion is not only possible, but the value is immediate.
Considering that next year is going to be a year of scaling and significantly growing your footprint, like what are your top needs, top 3 needs, let's say, that you see in the upcoming year? Is it talent? Is it funding? Is it all of the above? What are some of your key focus areas in the next 12 months?
So I think because we each have a role in a very important role to play in what's coming up, we're all heading one of those top things. So the top 3, I can say one on my end, is we constantly need to think about how we keep the startup funded, right? We know we are a great investment case. So what's on my plate as my role dictates is finding the right investors that will not only keep us on track, but who will open up doors for us on a commercial and a partnership level.
Yeah, same. So like in my role, I'm looking at, of course, the financials and everything. I recognize that, but no startup can be sustained without a proper team. So this would be my answer.
Yes. And lastly, making sure that the technology lives up to the hype and up to the expectations, as well as going to be scaled throughout the growing need from the market. That's my to-do, my task.
Got it. So you guys have a very clear path moving forward. So what I would like also to talk is briefly, again, you're building a fast-growing business. You guys are talking about scaling the company at significant levels compared to what it is today. I would love to hear more about the culture behind Nerit'e. So how are you guys working together, not only the 3 of you, but together with your team to basically make sure that every member that joins the company, but also investors, customers, see this same level of excitement, see this same level of ambition and expectations that you guys have. So how does that look like inside Nerit'e?
Definitely. I think we've been on a transitional period recently where we, a year ago, if you asked me this question, I would have no idea because we were three guys and some enthusiasts on the team as well. I think we would have no idea. But today, I would say to make the space more friendly, we have to make the space more friendly to people with the right talent. And one of the first things we have to do to get that kind of people is how we present ourselves. So one of these things relies on me, which I manage the brand. So this is one of the most important things as to how we present ourselves. Second of all would be to ensure that the people that work with us have the motivation and to keep them motivated with a good working environment. And this means also having activities, give them something to do, and also give them the responsibilities that they need to really take action and to have this power within to really drive the company forward. So I would say those 2 are the most important things. And obviously, third, maybe the closing one would be to rely on the team as well. So we have our roles for a specific reason, and this is important to keep up with. If not, the company and the team would just be in disarray if you don't have clear roles clear people who are leading this kind of thing. For example, Tom is leading the development of the product, and Humberto is leading all the commercial side of it and all the funding and so on. So this has to be very clear, and I think this is how we drive forward.
So it's a combination of clear roles and responsibilities, having an organization built in a much more professional way. So it's multiple, working on the brand. Those are some of the key areas how you guys are building these organization.
Definitely. The way you present yourself, I think, is really important, and it really sells that first image for other people. I think that first impression that you get on other people is really important.
One thing to add regarding culture, I think the great benefit of working in a startup where the founders actually maybe have been working at large corporations is you experience something new, you get responsibility from the get-go, and if you prove yourself, you will be a part of this in every piece, right? And you will contribute massively. So what you do is actually making an impact. And I think we keep that really high in our organization. And the people we hire, we do not tell them what to do. In the best case, they tell us, right? I think it's fascinating and exciting to work in a startup and also at Nerit'e. So if you're looking for a job, no, I'm just kidding. But this is also what I would like to contribute here.
And guys, we're reaching the end of the show. So I would love to get from each of you your best advice to aspiring founders. Like from all these great things that we discussed today, what would be your best advice for anyone who would like to follow a similar path to yours?
I think my tip and the advice that I would give is closely related to what I studied. My field of studies is industrial design. And in our field, we always look for the root problem. And it's about constantly knowing what you're facing and constantly knowing what the root of a problem is. So, and I think this makes a lot of sense when you look at it in a business way, because if you look at a problem from its root and from the direct cause, then you can have a better view of what to do and how to tackle it. And I think this is really important for people who want to build a startup. Identify the problem really and then develop a strategy to either mitigate it or to eradicate it completely via a business model, of course.
I think the best advice I could possibly give a founder, because I think we're not as seasoned as we would be. We're still in a very steep learning curve, and that's what founding feels like, right? The advice I would give is make sure that you're ready for that and you enjoy that process. When you are founding a company, you should never be the smartest person in the room. And that should be something you should enjoy.
Yeah, I'm in a similar area with my tip. I would say stay open-minded. There's lots to do, and sometimes you got to pivot. Sometimes you got to go a few steps back. But I think if your vision and mission is clear, you're set to do great stuff. And hopefully it's also something with an impact in what forms soever.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you very much for sharing these golden nuggets. I wish you all the best with building Nerit'e, and thank you very much for being today in the show.
Thanks so much, Sergio.
Thanks.
Thank you a lot.
And thanks to you for joining us today. Please remember to subscribe via your favorite podcast app to be notified about new episodes and share with us your feedback. We would love to hear from you. Thank you also to the Maxpreneurs team, Valeria Morel, Héctor Barragán from Hypervoltage, Francisco Jaimes, Pamela Elizalde, Katia Cruz, Rocío Marroquín. I am Sergio Chávez. See you next time.